No problem. It can only go as fast as technology. Okay, I'll call this regional council meeting to order. Please be advised that tonight's meeting is available for the public to attend virtually, is being streamed and recorded. Because this meeting will be adjourned as a closed meeting, any resolutions risen and reported will be recorded and posted uninterrupted at northernrockies.ca/councilcast. Should virtual attendees wish to address council during either the public comment period or the question and answer period, use the raise hands feature on your webinar controls. When it's your turn and are prompted, unmute your microphone, state your name, and ask your question. Once your question has ended, you will be muted again. Are there any CAO additions?
Yes, Mayor, just following up on a budget meeting request.
Okay. On my list, I have a request from Poplar Hills Golf and Country Club for a resolution to support an NDIT grant. Are there any council additions? None? Very well. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda then, please? Moved by Councillor Soul, seconded by Councillor Andrews. All those in favor? Carried. Can I get a motion, please, to adopt the minutes of the special council meeting of January 11th and the regional council meeting of January 11th?
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Roper, seconded by Councillor Penny. All those in favor? Carried. Are there any virtual attendees who wish to comment on the agenda tonight? Hearing none, we'll continue. Phoenix Theatre Management Society request for 2020 budget pre-approval. Ms. Michelle Mitchell.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to declare a conflict here. I have a contract with the society, so I'm going to step out.
Very well. Thank you, Councillor Roper. Michelle Mitchell.
Gary, Mayor Foster, I should say. How are
How's
you today?
it going?
Good, thank you.
Big virtual hug. Did you want to give me the? Did you want to give me your presentation here on the Phoenix Theatre?
Yes, I do. First of all,
Okay,
thank
go
you for allowing me to come to your meeting virtually from my kitchen. And so what we're looking to do is to get a concession delivery car vehicle. Ever since COVID started, we've been told by BC Tourism to pivot your business. In other words, find a different way to run your business so that you can stay profitable and keep yourself going until this pandemic ends and we'll be able to return to a more normal lifestyle. With that, you know, the crew over at the theater has come up with a couple initiatives. One of you know was drive-in theater, which was really great and did earn some revenues for us. Unfortunately, with the cold weather, we can no longer do that. So the theater crew came up with another idea, and that was to purchase a vehicle to make popcorn deliveries. Because it's considered food, we are allowed to continue delivering popcorn and selling popcorn from the theater. And we were granted approval from the government to do so. But we would like to take it one step further. In 2017 and 2018, we did a few days of popcorn delivery sales as a trial. And it netted us, or it grossed about $9,400. And on an average, over 7 nights, that was about $1,350 per night. So I believe you all have the written presentation that we sent to Jaylene, and Jaylene was going to give it to each of you so you can look at it yourselves. So what we're doing is we're looking for a new tool to go in our tool belts to stay relevant and to be there when the pandemic ends. And by asking you for approval on this portion of our budget now, It allows us to make the purchase of the vehicle. So the vehicle is a 2000, it is a, sorry about that. The vehicle is a Volkswagen Beetle, which is a bug. And, you know, we're hoping that people catch a new type of bug and they catch the popcorn bug. And this will allow us to sell. We have a 2013 vehicle identified in Edmonton, and they're asking $13,500 for it. When you look at what the car will cost us in insurance, fuel, additional staff, maintenance, lease costs, and food costs for extra delivery, we are looking at about $18,260 per year, and estimating 2 nights per week of delivery sales. We believe we can get revenues of $24,000, which would leave us with a net profit of around $5,800. So this is what we are coming to you with to ask for approval for this portion of the budget for the Phoenix Theater for this year.
Very well. Are there any questions for Ms. Mitchell? So, Councillor Souls, go ahead.
How much popcorn fits in a bug?
Now that is one question I did not ask. I can certainly get that information from
Well-
John and get back to you. I know they have
was just-
special carrying containers, and it
Right.
keeps the popcorn warm while they're delivering it. And there's also a special cup holder that will fit inside, and it's all zippered up, so it prevents it from slipping and sliding all over the place.
Councillor Penny.
Is there any reserve funds in the society that could be used towards the purchase of this vehicle? Is that where the money's gonna come from?
We have money in our capital reserve, and we also have money in our other capital account. We are kind of hoping to keep those funds in those accounts, because our capital improvement fund, we get 75 cents from the purchase of each ticket to go toward the capital improvement fund. But unfortunately, because we can't have movies right now, either or live performances, that revenue is at a standstill. There is a reserve fund, a reserve capital fund that was contributed by the town, but the town no longer contributes to that. And what we're hoping to save that money for is when often grants come up for improvements in the theater, we have to match those grants. And we are hoping to keep that money in place to use for future theater improvements and finance the car. We've already talked and discussed it with Scotiabank, and Scotiabank said we could finance the vehicle. And we would have to have a cosigner, which we've already secured. And that is why we prefer to finance the vehicle over using our capital funds for it.
So to be clear, this is not going to cost the municipality any money. The Phoenix Theater is going to totally make those payments on this vehicle. Is that correct?
Oh, totally. And we
Okay.
intend to pay for it out of the revenue that we generate from sales of popcorn during delivery services.
Okay, Councillor Gerwing.
So thank you. Beautiful curtains, by the way. That's a really nice backdrop.
Made
Um,
myself-
So I just want to make sure that I am understanding the proposal as it's put forth right now. The dollar value that you're asking us to pre-approve is it the 13,500?
Well, no, it's actually 18,266 because that includes the insurance, the fuel, the additional cost for the driver, the lease costs, and the additional costs for popcorn that we'd have to purchase, and lemonades and
Okay.
soda pop.
Okay, thank you. So because I don't know if the rest of council has seen, excuse me, the budget from that the Phoenix Theater has put forth. I haven't seen it. So I'm just assuming that this $18,260 is in your actual budget for
It is.
2021 that you have presented to the municipality?
It is. Because we need to purchase this vehicle, and right now it's sitting there in their showroom and we can purchase it, but there's no guarantees that it'll be there once our regular budget gets approved. So we've come to you tonight to ask your blessing to move forward with this so we can make more money.
And can you tell me whether your budget ask for 2021 is the same as last year, less than last year, more than last year? Because I haven't seen your budget proposal, so I don't know.
We are actually asking about $11,400 less in a subsidy than what we did last year.
Great. Thank you very much. That's all my questions, Mayor.
You're very welcome.
Mr. Carter, because we're talking about approving a budget here for $18,000 for this purchase, but it is going to be revenue neutral for the municipality because the Phoenix Theater is going to be making the payments on that vehicle. Can you explain a little bit about that? Why we would have to approve a budget amount for a vehicle when the Phoenix Theater is the one that is going to be paying for it?
So the proposal as it stands has an amount with the operating budget for next year. So the risk to the municipality would be on their business proposal if no popcorn is sold for COVID related reasons, there still would be an operating amount supported by the municipality. So that would be the purpose for the pre-approval.
So in effect, what the municipality is doing is it's guaranteeing the loan for this vehicle in a roundabout way. Councillor Penny.
Could they not guarantee this loan with their reserves instead of additional funding from council? And possibly even borrow from the reserves to purchase the vehicle instead of paying interest to a bank?
Mr. Carter.
So they would still need a council resolution to have those reserves used for that purpose. So whether it was a pre-approval to use the reserves if needed at that point, or as part of their operating budget, council could elect to approach it how they see fit.
Any other comments, councillors? Councillor Andrews.
I just assumed that it was coming as a pre-approval because the theater needed it. It needed to be essentially allowed to spend money that we haven't approved yet for their next year's budget. So we're pre-approving it, kind of saying, okay, if we don't approve your budget, we've already at least going to approve that you're going to get this amount of money. You're allowed to spend this amount of money for next year. Am I wrong with that, Ryan?
No, that would be correct. They would have some operational funds left over from last year that they could probably use for the lease payment, but in essence, they would need to spend money towards this project before the revenues are being received. So they would need the pre-approval for those spends, as you mentioned.
Very well. Is there any more comment before I ask for a motion? Very well. Can I have a motion then, please? To approve the budget, moved by Councillor Andrews. Do I have a seconder?
Could the motion reflect that we are pre-approving $18,260, not the budget?
Yes. Yes, simply the ask of tonight, 18,200. And a seconder, please. Seconded by Councillor Gerwin. All those in favor? All those opposed? Please record Councillor Penny is opposed. And could you get Councillor Roper back to the meeting, please? And that motion is carried.
Thank you.
Councillor Roper. Very well. Next, we have Poplar Hills Golf and Country Club Golf Simulator. Mr. Jason Maury and Louise Schindler. Mrs. Schindler.
You're muted, Louise.
Ah, there we go.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors.
Good evening.
The Poplar Hills Golf and Country Club is looking to purchase 2 golf simulators. I do believe there is a letter of support that we have submitted for your approval tonight. But the reason for our video chat here is we're looking to secure a spot to have these simulators located in the actual town of Fort Nelson. And we're running into a few roadblocks, so we're coming to council for help. From what we understand, we're approved for a C1 or a C5 location. Now, C5 is the old Backroads location, which we've looked at, and it would require too much revenue to bring it up, or sorry, too much expense to bring it anywhere near being able to host the simulators. We have talked to a few different businesses in town. We're still looking at a few places. One of our concerns is we don't fit in a normal, per se, office building because we need at least 10 to 12 foot ceiling height for the simulators. The one place that we have found that we really like, and I'm sorry, I don't have the full address, but it's on 46th Avenue. It's the Anderson building where White Sky used to be. They have a bay in there that we've looked at. It meets all our criteria, except for it's not zoned for us. So we're coming to council to see what, if anything, we can do with the variance, or do we keep looking? Is there other options that we can? I mean, we've been working with Sean very closely with the town, and we will keep working with Sean. But we're kind of at a roadblock and hope council can provide us some guidance.
Councilor Goodwin, go ahead.
So I don't really, well, I get the whole zoning issue. I'm just wondering if we could be provided with an explanation as to why that Anderson building couldn't, that is addressing the golf course's needs, why we couldn't look at some sort of a variance, or like the bay is empty, it's in the industrial zone, I get that. But I'm just not fully understanding why we're not making that a little easier for a tenant to go in there.
Mrs. McIver?
Typically zoning amendments are applicant driven. They're not staff driven. They can be council driven, but because it's privately owned property and we haven't heard from the property owner.
Okay.
At this point, it's just the advice that's been given to the proponent that the property that they've identified right now, the zoning doesn't fit. So there's a multitude of ways that could come to be, but I mean, essentially it would be best be driven by the property owner.
Okay, well, I would just like to add that I'm really excited by the last proposal and the Poplar Hills Golf proposal. I think these two organizations are really showing initiative in trying to generate alternative revenue sources for themselves. And I think as a council that I think we should do everything that we can to support their initiatives. So Louise, if you have to go back to the property owner and ask for them to apply for a variance, Jaylene, is that what they would ask for?
Be a zoning amendment.
Zoning amendment.
Yeah.
Okay, but for just more for clarification, Jaylene, is there any way that we can get instead of rezoning the full building, just a bay in that building?
Zones are applied per property. So it would be, and adding, so if you added another use to that property. It doesn't mean that every bay has to have that use. It just adds some additional flexibility to the uses on that whole property.
So that the build or the tenants that are still there would still be able to operate.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Councillor Andrews.
Is this something you're looking for to have like a long-term spot to stay at? Because I'm not sure if it would be applicable or not, but maybe a temporary use permit.
We are hoping to have long-term permanent. Our goal
Okay.
would be to be able to run it at the moment with the possibility of moving it out to the golf course at the point where we can afford to build a new clubhouse,
Okay.
more self-sustainable.
So, Mr. Schindler, do I have this corrected? What you're looking for is you're looking for support tonight for an NDIT grant to purchase those simulators, and also that you want to locate this in a leased piece of property in town in the meantime before you construct something at the golf course. Is that about it?
That is correct, Mayor.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Okay, I guess I want to move on to the support for the NDIT grant. The Poplar Hills Golf and Country Club is looking for support for their application for an NDIT grant to purchase these simulators. Do we want to entertain that right now, or should we move on and consider this later?
I'd make the motion that we offer our support to that letter. And then we'll have to wait until the zoning amendment is applied for it, but I'm sure they'll find somewhere else for it if that doesn't work out.
If they're unable to find the zoning for this golf course, the NDIT grant would just simply disappear. Is that correct? I mean, if they weren't able to complete on this, it just,
The grant just looks at the purchase of the equipment. It doesn't consider zoning of any location.
okay. Very well. I guess I'll ask for motion then.
I think Councillor Penny put a motion on the table and I was going to second it, but I was wondering if we could add as part of that motion that that staff continue to work with the Poplar Hills golf course to find a suitable location to house the simulators.
Yeah, I see the, on the mayor's list here, the request for the Poplar Hills Golf and Country Club is coming up on item number 10, which will be the resolution that the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality supports the NDIT grant. So perhaps we'll deal with this at item number 10 on the agenda. That's all right.
Mayor Foster, just a recommendation. I would separate the resolution because the corporate services would have to produce a resolution letter. So it would be best to have a simple resolution in support of the grant.
All right. All right. So Councillor Gervin, you'll have your resolution now about asking staff to assist Poplar Hills in their zoning amendments.
Yeah, okay, so just that that staff help the Poplar Hills golf course to find a suitable location for the simulators.
Moved by Councillor Gervin, seconded by Councillor Penny. All those in favor? Carried. And we'll deal with the NDIT grant at section number 10 on our agenda today. Admin report number 3. Thank you, Mrs. Schindler. We'll move on to administration report number 3. WildSafe BC Community Coordinator grant application. Mr. O'Shaughnessy, did you want to speak to that?
What does that mean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, if my report is in, we're looking at an application to the 2021 WildSafe BC Community Coordinator Program be submitted. and a budget of $6,000 be pre-approved in principle, subject to the approval of grant funds.
Are there any comments, councillors? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion then. Moved by Councillor Sol, seconded by Councillor Andrews. All those in favor? Carried. Admin report number 4, Royal Canadian Legion 2020 Military Service Recognition Book for decision. Ms. McIver?
This is just an annual activity the council undertakes with the Royal Canadian Legion to publish an ad and appreciation for veterans. And so they've contacted us for renewal of that ad, and it's just before council for consideration again this year.
Any comments, councillors? Very well. Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion. Moved by Councillor Penny. Seconded by Councillor Gerwing. All those in favor? Carried. Admin report number 5, Physician Housing Program lease property. Did the Northern Rockies Region Municipality continue with the Physician Housing Program lease property for another 12-month period to provide for accommodations to visiting and newly recruited physicians? I'm sorry, healthcare workers, including locum physicians. Mrs. McIver, did you want to speak to this?
I'll pass it on to Teresa. She's joined us.
Oh, there she is. I'm sorry, I didn't see your name there. Mrs. Hanson?
Hello. The housing program has been going on for a few years now, and last year the hospital determined that they could use extra housing for traveling nurses and other physicians and health providers. Their residence was full and overfull, so we offered them the use of our duplex, which we had been renting and keeping rentable for like Dr. Fourie and other locums and other doctors coming with the PRABC. So we, council agreed last year to allow us to rent another fully furnished place for locums. And over the year of 2020, which was a little bit testing, we didn't have as many locums visiting as our local doctors would have liked to have, obviously. But however, it was still used about 75 days over the year and 5 different locations. And most of those with Dr. Sogbian. And so that lease is coming a bit, well, council only had approved it for 1 year. The lease is a month-to-month lease, so we could continue to go, but we would need council's blessing to continue the program.
Any comments, councillors? Very well, in that case, I'll ask for a motion. Did we approve the lease renewal on a month-to-month basis?
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Roper, seconded by Councillor Penny. All those in favor? Carried. Admin report number 6, acting mayor's list committee and portfolio appointments is before you. The only addition or change to this is at NCLGA on the weekend, NCLGA passed a motion that they request the Northern Rockies and other regional districts to consider having an alternate for the positions on the board. And so I've reached out to Councillor Andrews, who has said that he would be glad to be an alternate for Councillor Gerwing. So having said that, I will ask for a motion that we accept this.
Mayor,
Councillor Gerwing?
can I just check something?
Sure.
So under number 5, other appointments, the Alaska Highway Community Society. I thought that we made a change last year that Councillor Penny would be the primary and I would be the alternate, and Councillor, because it fits in better with his portfolio, and Councillor Penny has been attending those meetings and I have not. So I'm wondering if this list could reflect that.
Yes, certainly. Probably just an oversight, but we will change those on Alaska Highway Community Society. Change the primary to Regional Councillor Penny and the alternate to Councillor Gerwing.
Thank you.
Very well. I'll ask for a motion then. We accept this. Moved by Counselor Souls, seconded by Counselor Andrews. All those in favor? Carried. Administration report number 7, grant application with the Northern Rockies Region Municipality Fire Hall and Public Works Structural Foundation Replacement. Ms. Watson, would you like to speak to
Good
this?
evening. I certainly can. So we're before you once again asking for ability to apply for federal provincial Investing in Canada infrastructure funding. This is specific to the Fire Hall and Public Works structural foundational issue. This application is similar to the one we applied for in October in that it's to support COVID resilience. However, the earlier grant program supported projects of up to $1 million. This one has a much larger cap on it. And since we applied in October, we've received a report on the condition of the building itself, looking at further structural issues, mechanical and electrical issues. And in that report, we've identified a lot of items that are due for renewal in the next 5 years that are actually impacted by the construction that would be required for this structural. So, for example, mezzanines would have to be removed. They're also identified for renewal in the next 1 to 3 years. So we've included that in this program or in this project scope. So the amount we're asking for is $1,877,295, and it would be 100% covered. We're just getting your.
We really would like to get $1.8 million from our friendly neighborhood federal government. I don't think we'll have much of a problem getting that through council. Councillor Gerwing.
Would this refit in any way address the overcrowding office space, both in public works,
Not at all.
air quality issues, so I guess to be convinced.
This one's
Sorry,
sorry.
I'm just wondering, I'm just hoping to be convinced that reinforcing the structure, I mean, are we just putting more money into a building that isn't currently meeting our needs and it's not going to meet the future needs?
So we're going to be coming to council with further options, and it'll probably be in line with other facility discussions. So we can look at that bigger picture then. But this particular scope really just provides for the repair of the building and salvaging it. And it does include some ventilation enhancements and stuff like that. But it's really the existing capacity of the building itself would remain the same. There's other options that can be considered when we bring the report and other options to you in a week or two.
So are there other?
Go ahead, Councillor Gerwing.
So are there other options that we could be applying for this grant stream? Like instead of applying it for this building? Is there a future?
So the options that we're coming across. So the options that we're coming across right now for grant are reconstruction projects more so, maybe even a new build, but they're not for purchase. That's what we're finding.
So.
Any other questions go ahead, Councillor Gerwing.
Sorry, there's a real delay here, you guys. So if I'm cutting everybody off, I apologize. I'm so sorry. So I guess I just want to be convinced that there's a future for this building.
So this building, that condition assessment that we just had in identified that the building, given its age, it's in reasonable condition. So if we spend if we spend this money and over the next 5 to 20 years, an additional 800,000, for example, this building would last us another 20 years. So in its existence, it would provide for comfortably just the Public Works Department, for example. But the fire hall and the Public Works combined is where the capacity issue comes in. So, and those are discussions that we can have with further, when we bring you further details relating to the logistics of this project itself and the other options that we have before us.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, any other comments on this grant application? Very well, hearing none, I'll ask for a motion that we approve the grant application.
So
Moved by
moved.
Councillor Roper, seconded by Councillor Souls. All those in favor?
Thank you.
Carried. Thought I saw your hand up there, Councillor Souls. Okay. Northern Rockies Region Municipality Procedure Amendment Bylaw, Electronic Material and Virtual Participation Bylaw number 188, 2020 for adoption. We've given this first, second, and third reading, and this is for adoption. So I'll simply ask for a motion that we adopt this bylaw change. Moved by Councillor Gerwin, seconded by Councillor Andrews. All those in favor? Carried. Correspondence, letter of support for Central Mountain Air. Letter of support for the Canada Pharmacare Act. Are there any comments on these letters? Very well. Moving on, information package, received for information, council information package for January 13th and council information package for January 20th. New business items, additions by the mayor, request from Poplar Hills Golf and Country Club for a resolution to support the NDIT grant application. Any comments on that? Very well. Very well. The Northern Rockies Region Municipality supports the grant application from the Poplar Hills Golf and Country Club to the Northern Development Initiative Trust Recreational Program for up to the maximum grant of $50,000 for the golf simulator project. Moved by Councillor, sorry, Mr. Carter.
I just wanted to add a comment in there. So I know that council has not received the cultural group's budget request for this year. Our plan was to discuss the upcoming meetings with council and then send those packages out here probably tomorrow. So in the Poplar Hills proposal that we have received, a draft proposal, it does comment on the NDIT grant with the purchase of these machines. So council may want to consider as part of their decision that whether it's grant dependent, like if they're going to move forward with the purchase regardless or grant dependent. They have asked for $15,000 in capital in their proposal, and the grant on their budget says $30,000. And so there is an amount there that would come out of operations if they moved ahead with their proposal and their purchase. So it might be a consideration whether the purchase could have budgetary considerations in it.
So does this mean that the Poplar Hills Golf Club's budget could expand if this goes ahead?
The grant, the particular grant program that they've applied for is not 100% funding. So that in the budget that they have submitted for council consideration, there is a capital request to make up the difference for this purchase.
Okay,
so by supporting the grant application, just not that you passed their budget, but there are budget implications that you will be considering as part of this overall grant program. Much like the Phoenix Theater, are you supporting the pre-approval of that particular portion, or are you just supporting the grant application at this time? Just to differentiate between the two decisions.
Any comments?
Yeah, I have a question, please.
Go ahead, Councillor Gerwin.
Like you said, we haven't seen their budget request. So I'm asking, is their overall budget request for the golf course the same as last year, less than last year, greater than last year?
Their request is the same as last year. Their projections are the same as last year. So actually, council will see it in their budget proposal, but their performance last year was pretty much the same as the year before, even with COVID. And their budget ask is the same. And this is part of their budget ask. So it is not increasing the budget request. It is part of the same budget request they had in the previous year.
Okay, so then just to reconfirm, what I'm hearing is that the budget request is the same and it includes whatever money they need to match the NDIT grant. So technically then we could approve of letter of support and we wouldn't be incurring any additional budgetary costs for the golf course over last year.
That's correct.
Okay, I'm comfortable making that motion then if there's no further discussion.
And I'd second it.
So any further discussion? Any other comments? Very well. Motion's moved by Councillor Gerwing, seconded by Councillor Penny. All those in favor? Carried. Councillor reports. Any councillor reports? Oh, I'm sorry, CEO edition. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to follow up on the email that I sent out last week, we are looking at scheduling our series of budget presentations. So we've got 4 essential groups of budget presentations that we need to get onto your calendars. The first batch is the cultural group presentations for the major 4. We're looking to do 1 to 2 meetings between February 1st to the 5th, noon to 1 p.m. And we'd like to get all of them in one meeting. Are there any days of the week that don't work for lunch hours?
I'm good.
Hearing none? We're all available for lunch hours, is that correct? I think we're good.
The next set of meetings that we're looking to schedule are the preliminary budget review meetings. Based on last year's estimated time that we spent, it was between 3 to 5 hours. So it would be between 3 and 5 noon meetings, and potentially prior to the regular council meeting, the second regular council meeting in February, between February 17th and 26th.
We're all good?
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh,
Is that noon you're saying? Noon?
noon, yes, and prior to the second regular council meeting in February.
Okay, yeah, I'm good. Okay.
The third set that we're looking at is one evening. We are thinking a 4 p.m. or a 5 p.m. start, probably between March 1st to 3rd to do our digital engagement session, where we would be basically representing the preliminary budget, recording it for social media purposes, allowing public participation in that meeting for residents, business owners to ask questions. We would work through the budget presentation quite slowly, allowing for a question period. And after that, we would have approximately a 7 to 10 day public comment period, which members of the public could submit comments on the budget. We would basically be doing a virtual open house. And we're just looking for if there are any conflicts around the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th of March for an evening. So an early evening of 4 p.m., 5 p.m. start.
Wouldn't be available March the 3rd.
March the 3rd. Okay. Everybody else is good?
Everyone else is fine? Very well. Mrs. Laval, you can reach out to Councillor Dolan regarding this.
I will, absolutely. My last one is the final budget meetings, which we estimate 5 to 7 hours in total between March 22nd to April 1st. That is the scheduled spring break for School District 81. Those are the exact dates for spring break, School District 81, March 2nd to April 1st. And we're hoping to utilize noon and 1 p.m. meeting times. We also have a regular council meeting during that time frame, which we may be able to put in an hour or two in front of for a final budget meeting. So just wanted to check availability for
Mr. Andrews, Councillor Andrews, go ahead.
April 1st is an untrustworthy day. We shouldn't do it on that day.
The goal is absolutely to be completed by April 1st.
Any other conflicts? Very well. Councillor Gerwin.
Sorry. So am I hearing you? So for these final set of meetings, instead of having a 1 4-hour meeting or whatever, we're going to have 4 1-hour meetings? Is that where we're headed with this?
At the last regular council meeting, CAO Barry asked what council's preference was, and I believe the general consensus was similar to last year, a series of shorter meetings versus one big, large sit down.
Councillor Penny.
I'm sorry, the dates again, you say they coincide perfectly with the
Spring
March
break.
break of the school district?
Absolutely
Not going
perfect.
anywhere.
I don't expect us to be meeting every single day, but it's going to be about 5 to 7 hours. So if we can get an hour and a half in a day, it will take, 4 to 5 days.
I was hoping to go somewhere.
Well, you go.
We can absolutely schedule these post Easter, which is right the next 2 weeks after.
I was hoping for a last snowmobile trip with the family. Everybody was starting to do it, but I don't want to.
I have no preference, so if we want to reschedule, that's fine by me. I'm good.
I'm also open to doing like a couple of 3-hour sessions and get it over with. Like we did it all in one day for years. And so if Councillor Penny has somewhere to go, I think you should go and like we should figure it out because man, I'm here to support anybody that can travel. Because I can't.
You could travel where I'm planning on traveling.
Will you take me? So yeah, so I'm open to having less meetings if that helps with the time frame that Councillor Penny is planning on being away.
Mrs. Laval, I think we're pretty well open to different meetings here. It looks to me like we've got a really good availability here. And if we can work around 1 or 2 councillors, I don't think it'll stall the process at all.
If council is all right with that, I'll look at the calendar and we can send out a doodle poll for during the workday, like we can put some bigger chunks in.
Yeah, I'm not going to be gone that whole week either. I'll work around it.
Okay, we'll try to put everything into one area versus spread it out. Okay, absolutely. Yeah.
Very well. You have the information you need?
I do, yes, thank you, Mayor.
Good. Very well. Council reports. Do we have any council reports today? Councilor Gerwin, go ahead.
Okay, so I attended the Chamber of Commerce board meeting on January 14th, the library AGM and their board meeting on the 18th. I attended the community trail meeting on the 21st and the Wolverine Nordic Mountain Society attended as well and discussed the setup of their club. So it was very interesting to see everything that they've accomplished in Tumbler Ridge. Also attended the Chamber of Commerce virtual roundtable on the 21st with Steve Baumber from the Senior Timber Tenures Forester, discussing the Bill 22 public engagement process in application by Peak Renewables, who also attended and answered questions. And then had a lovely weekend attending the NCLGA board meeting on January 22nd and 23rd virtually. Just a few things to highlight from that meeting is they're going to continue with the Solid Waste Management Forum. It's going to be an online forum sometime in 2021. And previously, Northern Rockies had committed to be a part of this conference and was slated to present at one of the sessions. And at that time, it was entitled Local Government Snapshots, Framing the Issues in the North. And I'm just wanting to confirm that we will continue to commit to having staff be a part of that plenary. Because it got canceled because of COVID. So I don't know whether it was, okay, Luann's going, yes.
Oh,
Perfect.
Mrs. Laval, you don't need a motion then. This is already in the works, is it?
I don't believe we need a motion for this one, no.
Okay.
Okay, so then we'll just keep that on the work agenda. We don't have dates yet, but as soon as I hear about the dates, I'll let you know. And then just, I know that last time everybody put in their agendas that the AGM for the NCLJ is going to be May 5th and 6th, online as well, coming out of Prince George. So in addition to the business of the AGM, the workshops that they're going to have is, so panel presentations around, I'm really happy to report this one because this was not even my idea. This came out of Prince George. And the title of it is Achieving Equitable Access to Medical Services. So how about that, you guys? So I was really excited to see that. And another one is Enhancing Forestry Resilience, Building Sustainable, Renewable, and Non-Renewable Energy Sources, Addressing Mental Health Issues, Addressing Affordable Housing and Homelessness, and Municipal Infrastructure and Rural Roads. The organizing committee is looking for presenters. So I'm just wondering, with all of the work and research that we have done, if we would like to volunteer someone to join the Equitable Access to Health Services presentation. Thoughts?
Sounds like a good idea to me. I think Councillor Gerwin, you might be a good candidate for that.
I'm very shy, Mayor. I was hoping that it would be somebody with a bit more, I don't know. Anyways, if we have a commitment, we can talk about that. Like
We can look for that and see if we can come up with someone. Perhaps. Well, I don't know. We'll talk about that, and I'm sure we can.
Okay.
We can convince somebody that it would be a good idea.
Okay, I'll let them know maybe that Northern Rockies would be interested.
Was that it, Councillor Gerwin?
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Okay. I attended NDIT's virtual meeting January the 15th. It was the Regional Advisory Committee, half-a-day meeting. January 18th, NCLGA webinar on high-speed internet, and this was attended by staff as well. And it was very interesting. It was about solutions concerning broadband and better access to high-speed internet. I spoke to Nancy Gortson, Peak Renewables, about the progress of their project, and it seems to be going along very well. And like Councillor Gerwin, I attended the meeting of the Chamber of Commerce with Mr. Balmer regarding the forest license transfer. He was very informative. The transfer of the license from Canfor to Peak Renewables, the minister has the discretion to transfer the license, and there's only really two criteria that they ask, and that is, does it create a concentration that would interfere with competition, and is it in the public interest? The minister has no discretion to change or alter that timber license. It is simply a, do you want to transfer it or not, yes or no? I called Chief Gale to discuss the increase in COVID-19 cases and strategies going forward here regarding COVID-19 in our community. And one of the items that was discussed was enforcement of some of the public health orders. We had a meeting, the weekly meeting with Northern Health, and we discussed the lack of communication between Northern Health and the Northern Rockies when we have an uptick in COVID cases. Northern Health does not reach out to the municipality and say, hey, we've got these cases increasing in your area. We want to step up some communication, some public outreach. They don't do that. What they do is they get the information, they gather it from their own sources within our community, then they put it on the CDC website where we have to gather it. There's a lack of communication there. When I brought that up with Northern Health, they said they had no discretion in this regard. The Ministry of Health tells them how they will communicate the COVID cases, and I think they have Northern Health on a rather short leash about what they can and cannot say. Having said that, we did voice our displeasure about that, and I also voiced this in a couple of other forums. I spoke to MLA Davies about CMA curtailment of services. He phoned me to discuss some confidential information that he'd received from CMA. The following day, we were on a conference call with Mr. Bob Cummings from CMA, Mr. Zimmer, and Mr. Michael Lee, who is the provincial critic for transportation, and outlined some of the detrimental effects of seeing CMA discontinue their service in the Northern Rockies. There was a meeting between Mr. Davies and Mr. Lee, which I was invited to, and then with the Minister of Transportation. And then the Minister of Transportation asked that it was only between him and the MLAs, Mr. Michael Lee and Mr. Davies. So I have asked for a meeting myself, phone meeting with Minister of Transportation. We'll see what happens over that. In the conversation with him, Mr. Cummings, he spoke in very glowing terms about how the Northern Rockies had gone out of its way to help the airline during this difficult time, and you know, appreciated all the support that our municipality has given his airline, even going as far as to say that he is reluctant to ask us to do any more for them because we have done so much. So I appreciated that. Also on this file, I sat on the board of NDIT for a while with Taylor Bacharach, who was the mayor of Smithers. Mr. Bacharach subsequently resigned from his seat as mayor and ran in the federal election, and he is now a sitting NDP member of parliament, and he is the transportation critic for the NDP. And so I reached out to Mr. Bacharach today, asking for a call back to discuss CMA curtailing their flights out of Fort Nelson. So this is, for me, this is one of the more serious things that is going on in our community along with COVID-19, and we'll continue to see how much traction we can get on that. I did a phone interview with Gloria Oriolua from UNBC. She was doing a rural health study, and so I spoke to her for about an hour on the phone regarding rural health. I also spoke at the Liberal Caucus, had a meeting concerning healthy communities and safety, where Mr. Lee, Mr. Davies, and most of the other MLAs, Liberal MLAs, met and discussed issues within British Columbia around healthy communities. And I brought up the fact that we were losing our airline, and this was a huge problem for us. And that was rather well received. The only problem with that was that there was about 70 other mayors on the line, so we didn't get very long to talk. So that was that. And I did some interviews with Moose FM, Bailey Nicholson of Rogers, and Terry from Global TV surrounding opioids. They had noticed there was a large spike in opioid calls in the Northern Rockies in the past year. This was 21 calls, up from 6 in the previous year. If you go back a few years, we were getting about 10. And I think there was various reasons for that. But they wanted to speak about opioid addiction in rural communities. And that is about all I have for that. Moving on, any strategic priority comments? Any media questions regarding regional municipality budgets, priorities set by council, or agenda business? Are there any questions, Ms. McIver? Very well. Can I get a resolution then to move to a closed meeting? Moved by Councillor Penny, seconded by Councillor Souls. All those in favor? And we will temporarily adjourn this to a closed meeting.